Elizabeth and I want to thank ChiroSecure for always having our backs and the backs of the profession and allowing us to spread the word on kids and chiropractic. So ChiroSecure, thank you once again. With that said, Elizabeth is going to take a nap like she always does while we continue to hang out for some awesome new information. All right, have a nap, girlfriend. I'm Monika Buerger, and today we're going to have some exciting 4M conversation. Yeah, 4Ms, what are they? Well, years ago, I did a course called 3M, Methylation, Mitochondrial Metabolism. Methylation is all the buzz again. And a lot of that is because of a few months back, the announcement of using leucovorin for autism in the autistic population. So what are 4Ms? Well, actually, I've added an M to this whole paradigm. And that's what I want to talk about today, because it is not just about methylation. Methylation doesn't act on its own, so to speak. So I've added a fourth M, and that is the microbiome. And the microbiome, metabolism, mitochondria, methylation, they all work off each other. They all spin off of each other. And one of the big questions that I've gotten over the years, I've been teaching this for over 15 years, but one of the big questions that I've been getting lately since the whole leucovorin thing is many parents, docs, I'm at conferences, chiropractors, new mamas to be, daddies to be, are coming up to me and go, Monika, what do I need to do for my little fiddle fart? Because I have the MTHFR mutation. Boom, stop right there, everybody. Because methylation involves hundreds, maybe thousands of genes. Just in the blood alone, they've identified over 800 genes that are involved in methylation. So MTHFR is one gene out of 20 to 25,000 different genes in the human genome. Yes, it's important, but a lot of people are identifying MTHFR as methylation. So number one mistake, don't do that. Number two mistake, here's the scoop. Never, ever, and I mean never, ever, treat the gene. What do I mean by that? You need to understand to treat the entire person and understand individualized biochemistry. One of the number one mistakes I have seen practitioners make is test somebody for MTHFR, and if they have a mutation, you've got to understand the difference between the mutations of MTHFR, but we don't have time to get into that here. The number one mistake is people just throw methylfolate at people. You have an MTHFR mutation, you need extra methylfolate. That is not necessarily true. So don't ever treat the gene, treat the person. And when it comes to the little fiddle farts, what you need to understand about supporting their biochemistry, especially the 4Ms, methylation, mitochondria, metabolism, and the microbiome, is basically do the basics to keep the allostatic load, the toxic load, the stress load off the system. And that, my friends, is where the chiropractic innate intelligence, the chiropractic lifestyle comes into power. So back to the little fiddle farts. You might want to get them tested to see if they have a genetic predisposition to having more struggles when it comes to toxification. But what are you going to do differently? You are still going to lay the foundation of health for those little fiddle farts. You don't have to throw a lot of things at them. And again, even with the adult, here's a quick pearl. Most individuals with a MTHFR gene mutation, all they need is a good diet high in folates, dark green leafy vegetables, support their microbiome, eat whole foods, not processed foods, and maybe take a multiple vitamin with adequate amounts of active B vitamins. They don't necessarily need a whole extensive extra amount of methyl groups. Okay, because that's a good way you can tank people. If you treat the gene, that's the number one way to tank people. I've been there. So please never ever treat the gene, and with your little fiddle farts, start with the basics. A healthy overall lifestyle. So, number one thing you don't want to do, treat the gene. Number one thing you do want to do, one of the simplest things, is support the microbiome. The microbiome, oh my goodness, I mean, we have decades of studies on the brain-gut axis, but the microbiome, it's responsible for making key nutrients that are incredibly important to run this whole methylation machine. Okay. Methylation means they're adding a methyl group to either like a protein in a DNA or an RNA molecule. That's all it's doing. The microbiome supplies a lot of nutrients in order to make this whole methylation machinery run. Okay. So for instance, B12 is made in the small intestines, zinc. Every gene within this methylation cycle, all these genes are worker bees, need a co-pilot. I call it a co-pilot or an assistant. Just like we have an assistant to help answer our phones or run our office or schedule patients or whatever. It takes the load off of us. We can get in there and do our thing and serve the public. Genes need an assistant. It might to help them run more efficiently. So it might need magnesium or vitamin C or zinc or whatever, B6, B12, B9, B2. It helps that gene run more efficiently. So, moral of the story, number whatever moral we're on, is a gene you may not have a SNP. You may not even have a mutation on, I'm just going to go with MTHFR because everybody's jumping on that bandwagon again 2 decades later after it became a big splash. It needs an assistant, okay, to help it run more efficiently. So you might not have a mutation, might be perfectly quote unquote clean or a normal variant, no variant, just normal. But it needs an assistant like B2 in order to work properly, and you don't have enough B2 on board, then it can be compromised. Likewise, you can have a gene mutation, but live as healthy of a lifestyle as you can. Supporting the microbiome is the foundational step. Having those nutrients on board, decreasing your stress load, getting adjusted, having enough protein in your diet, eating a clean diet, all those things decrease the stress load off all of our genes in order to help them run more efficiently. So that's incredibly important to know. So back to your little fiddle farts. Yeah, you can test them to see if they have a mutation, but are you going to change your overall aim or goal for that little fiddle fart? Hopefully not. Hopefully you're going to still emphasize minimal amounts of stress, increase good foods in their diet, stay away from processed foods and all the sugary drinks and technology, get adjusted, and advocate that chiropractic lifestyle so that you minimize the stressors on all the genes and all aspects of this methylation cycle in order to optimize health. Okay, so there you have it. And with that said, the microbiome. I've covered the microbiome for many years. It's a big key in my Foundations of Neurodevelopment program, Pillar 6. If you want to learn more about managing the microbiome in the little fiddle farts, scroll down, dive into our Academy of Neurodevelopment Practice, Foundations of Neurodevelopment. That's a lot of words there. our Foundations of Neurodevelopmental course, you're going to get a red flag history to identify red flags, stressors on the system that may be impairing methylation biochemistry. And you're going to get a whole pillar 6 on managing the microbiome. So don't miss out. Scroll down now. Join us. I'll see you on the inside, and let's change the tide for kiddos and families for future generations.
Today's pediatric show, Look to the Children, was brought to you by ChiroSecure.